Awesome. Welcome to our Sunday night team training Zoom. So excited you guys are tuning in. We super appreciate this. I'm Carrie Williams from Chandler, Arizona. I've been with the company 9 years, and you guys, I could not be more excited for the future of LifeVantage and where we're headed. So if you are brand new, welcome to this weekly team training. We have done these for quite some time and just so passionate about sharing this information, and it's a great resource for you. So tonight I want to get right to it. I have the privilege of getting to introduce Stephanie Kroon. So Stephanie is married. She has 3 boys. She was actually a former pharmaceutical rep. She's also a nutritionist, and she worked for a functional medicine doctor. She's had quite an amazing story with LifeVantage and the products with their own family, and she has impacted so many other lives. I've had the pleasure of getting to work, very directly with her. Steph lives a few miles away from me, and I can tell you, she's a Pro 5, but she has this massive heart and just this desire that she's unstoppable. She will go to the ends of the earth for whatever needs to happen. And she is one of those make it happen people. But tonight she's going to be talking about NRF2, protandim NRF2 activation and digestive health. And she was in that field. So she's very uniquely qualified looking at it from both the pharmaceutical and a holistic nutritionist point of view. So Steph, I would love for you just to share what you're so passionate about with NRF2 and digestive health, and then anything, you go from there. Thank you. Welcome.
Awesome. Thank you, Carrie. Always a pleasure to be invited to do this and to be able to do it with, I feel like, one of the most amazing women on the planet, and that's Carrie, because just the impact that she's had in my life, and I know so many others of you on here tonight, and it just blows my mind. It blows my mind where I'm at today and what the journey that I've been on and how massively different my life has been, not just from the product standpoint, but also just the growth and the change in being a human being that has happened for me. So I'm going to share a screen because, like Carrie said, I was actually in the gastroenterology field as a pharmaceutical rep for 15 years. So I love that I actually get to research and really look at what this product can do digestively. And unique enough, I know I've told this story in meetings before, but I just want to share it with you before we get started. I remember, when I really got more into the natural holistic side, and it was unfortunately because my oldest was sick. And I'm just a question asker, why? And he was on all these medications, and I just went with that because that's what I knew. It's pharmaceuticals, right? So I'm just going to say yes and go with it. And I was trusting the physicians. I was trusting medicine. And then I really dug down deep into the why and realized, that's not the answer. And that's when I realized nutritionally even, there was a lot happening in my child's body, and the environment as well. And one day I was sitting with a gastroenterologist, in downtown Phoenix, and he's at a teaching institution down there. And he said to me, we were launching a new product and we were in it for about 6 months already. And he said to me, Steph, if your mom came to me as a patient and she was presenting with all of these symptoms, would you give her your drug? And you guys, it was that moment where I was faced, right? I was looking at myself in the mirror, literally going, what would I say? And I'm not going to tell a lie. And I looked at him and I said, I actually would not. There's so many other things that I would do first. And I remember coming home that night and saying to my husband, I can't do this anymore. However, I said this before, the money is good, so I didn't want to walk away from that, right? But I remember saying, I can't do this anymore because I don't believe in it. And I just love, for me, how God works in my life. The corporate pharmaceutical job was removed. I was able to do nutrition, and then this was brought into my life. And so now I get to share with you. I'm going to share my screen real quick because one thing I did learn when I was in pharmaceuticals was that we all learn, hold on, new share. We learn through visual. We hold 80% more when we have visuals. So whenever I teach, I always teach from my visual because I think it sticks to you better. Just got to do some moving around. Okay, present. So I'm sure all of you talk a lot about the digestive system, and you talk about it specifically with our probiotic, which is amazing and wonderful. And that's specifically looking at the gut microbiome and really building up that good bacteria. But what I want to tell you tonight is how NRF2 activation, so for tandem, how it also works incredibly well for the digestive system. But I want to do something a little bit different tonight. I want to set it up. I want to set up the why, because I think that we really need to know what's currently happening in the world and in the United States right now, and then how we have the answer to what the current state is, okay? So overall, annual expenditures for gastrointestinal diseases is 136 billion, which is more than heart disease and mental health disease. And the US gastroenterology drug market is anticipated to grow from 35 billion to 48 billion by the year of 2023. That's right around the corner. Now, we know as the disease market grows, so will pharmaceuticals will be used to treat those symptoms. And currently today, 21% of the doctor's visits are because of heartburn. And it's reported that 74% of Americans are living with digestive issues. So 7 out of 10 people that you come in contact with are living with digestive issues. And what are those? It's indigestion, it's heartburn. Heartburn's really the number one. And when I had my drug for, in the gastroenterology field was specifically for heartburn. And I had the number 2 prescribed drug on the market. Here's something a little bit different. I had a Me Too product, and the number 1 prescribed product was the product that came out first. Okay, you get that? It's the product that came out first because it was the product that all of the physicians knew and they automatically wrote it. We have constipation, diarrhea, IBS, IBD, so irritable bowel syndrome, irritable I drink Axio, my words are kind of really fast. Irritable bowel disease, stomach pain and cramps, nausea and vomiting. So we know what symptoms are. It's the body communicating. And it means that we need to pay attention, and those need to be addressed, because if they go unaddressed, they just progress and end up leading to disease. So medical treatment for gastrointestinal disorders are going to be antacids. Those are your over-the-counters that you can go buy. Another step above is going to be your H2 blockers. So that's when that's more of a histamine response. That too is now over the counter. And then PPIs, which are proton pump inhibitors, which actually shut down the actual pumps that are releasing the acid. That's not a good thing, you guys. There are massive side effects to PPIs. That's the market I was in. There are massive side effects to it because your body needs hydrochloric acid. And if it's all the acid is being completely shut down, there are side effects to that. Now, currently to date, Nexium, which is a prescription, is the number 4 prescribed drug on the market. So you can see how big of a market digestive disorders is. Now I'm going to share with you a couple of studies, and you can find these studies on PubMed. And these studies were specifically looking at GI disorders and NRF2 activation. Now in the study that I have cited here, and if anybody wants this study, I am happy to send it to you. I'll send you the slides if you want it. And on the slide, you'll be able to click right on this and I'll send you to the study. But in this study, the scientist of the study actually showed that reflux, so that's going to be heartburn, that's reflux disease. The symptom that the person is presenting with will be heartburn. H. pylori, NSAID-induced ulcers, IBD, and functional GI disorders such as motility, those are all a direct result of oxidative stress. So what the study actually found is that when the NRF2 pathway, it increases cytoprotection, it decreases inflammation, and it increases drug efflux. So what that is it's just getting rid of toxins that are inside of the cells and antibiotics and any other kind of crud that the cell has held onto. It's going to open up and get rid of it. Now we know that NRF2 does that already. But here is a cool visual from the study that I wanted to show you. And it literally, I think of it as like a bouncer, or like it's covering up the cell, right? And it's like, no, you're not getting in here, because you can see the cell membrane, the free radicals, and NRF2 is literally blocking any future cell damage to happen. And at the same time, releasing any of the free radicals that are inside. So I just think that study is pretty amazing because it shows you the impact of what NRF2 does digestively. And then the next study, this is my last study that I want to share with you. This too is found on PubMed. And this is talking again about the NRF2 pathway and how it maintains intestinal barrier function. Guys, this is huge. This is so big, because if that mucosal lining is broken, massive things happen systemically all over the entire body. So what the study found is that the gastrointestinal tract is a key source of ROS. So ROS is reactive oxygen species, which is basically free radicals. But in the study, he talks about ROS. And a buildup of ROS cells can damage DNA and RNA and proteins, and eventually causing cell death. So NRF2 activates the expression, we know this, and detoxification and antioxidant enzymes to eliminate those free radicals. In turn, the intestinal barrier is critical to maintain a healthy, steady state of gastrointestinal health. Huge. So here's the study results right here, plain and simple. There are 5 points to it. NRF2 I've decreased intestinal mucosal injury. Oh yeah, decreased intestinal mucosal injury by decreasing oxidative stress. It decreased the inflammation, and it affected intestinal tight junctions. So that's going to keep the integrity of the gastrointestinal wall. And so this is going to regulate the permeability. There needs to be movement there, but there does not need to be as much movement as it happens with leaky gut. And then NRF2 affected T cell function. So this is the immune response. So the bottom line is intestinal oxidative stress was controlled and cells are repaired and healed. So what I'm saying to you is don't stop at just probiotics, you guys. Do not stop, because you have the most powerful NRF2 activator in your hands. You have the opportunity to impact so many people's lives. If you think that 7 out of 10 people in a room, say you're in a room, and 7 out of 10 people that you're surrounded by, 72% of those people are presenting with some type of gastro symptoms, you have the power to help change their lives. So in closing, I say serve and share with love and confidence. Continue to be a voice out there, and never, ever stop, and never, ever give up, because there are plenty of people that are open. There are plenty of people that are looking for answers. There are lots of people who can't afford the prescription medications, or they're tired of the side effects. They just don't know. They need to learn. They need to be educated. So it's our job, you guys, it's our job to get out there in the world and love people and share what we know, and just keep sharing over and over again, because you have something powerful and some major answers. So I'm going to pass it off to Carrie. And I just had to tell you one quick story. I always laugh. It's kind of like these things that all come together, and you look back and you're like, oh my gosh, that's so funny that ironically happened that way. And one was, if you guys know the life of a pharmaceutical rep, we literally lived out of our cars, okay? Lived out of our cars. And we're always in our trunk of our car, getting out of our drugs, putting them in our bag. It's not like that today, because pharmaceutical industry got smarter and they started shipping directly to the physician. But for many, many years, we had to have a storage unit to house all of our products, and we had to, take all of our marketing material in. It was a pain in the rear. And then we'd have our bags, and we had to carry our product into the doctor's office. They sign for samples, blah, blah, blah. Well, I can't even tell you how many times I was approached at the back of my car, like, what do you have in there? It was getting kind of scary, right? And I think really that's why some of the changes happened in the industry. So when I first when Carrie hears about my son, right? And only the way Carrie Williams rolls, right? She's like, I don't even know her. Where are you? I'm like, where am I? In the parking lot of JCPenney's, buying my son a tie because he's graduating from 5th grade. And at, the corner of here and here. And she goes, great, I'm on the way. Never met this woman in my life, you guys, never in my life. She rolls up, and I've placed my order, right? So I already have my product coming. And she's like, you cannot wait any days. You cannot wait any days before you get this product in your child's body. And I'm thinking, who is this woman? I ended up talking to her for, 20 or 30 minutes maybe. And I'm totally late to get my kid. I'm totally late for everything, but it didn't matter, because I made this connection with this woman that has changed my life. But what I saw was this belief and this passion, and it was what I was searching for, because we needed these products in my child's body. And she stood in front of me and said, I know, I'm excited. I don't know when, but I know this is going to help your son. Just put it in his body every single day. Be consistent, never stop, and just believe. I was tears rolling down my face. I was like, I'm in, you got it. And it just goes on from there. So it is my pleasure to introduce Carrie Williams to you tonight, who is just phenomenal. So I love you, Carrie. And you guys are going to be wowed on how to do a home meeting. She was at my house at my first home meeting. And so this is just, again, ironic that here we are. So take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, Steph. That was absolutely amazing. I love learning from you and hearing from you. Phenomenal. And you guys, if you are on this Zoom, I am so excited that you are tuning in and or listening to the replay, because I've been involved for 9 years, and I was in before we had the probiotic, before the prebiotic, and we have seen incredible things with digestive health strictly on Nerf too. In fact, it really made me think of, we've got a young kiddo that was not able to swallow the probiotic, so he was taking Nerf 2 and Axio, and he had over 60 food sensitivities and many things he was highly sensitive to. He got on, like I said, Nerf 2 and Axio, and when they retested him, he was down to roughly 20 food sensitivities, and most of them were mild. So that was without the probiotic. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm a massive proponent of all of it in the Vitality Stack, but I just want you to know, we have seen incredible things with Nerf 2 alone and digestive system. And then it also, as you were talking about the tight junction, Stephanie, it reminded me when True Science came out and Dr. Natalie Chevreau was talking about Nerf 2 activation in the skin and literally showing us the studies and how this impacts the skin and how it impacted the junctions with that. And that was why we were seeing then the differences in the gut as well from Nerf 2 activation alone. So very, very, very powerful stuff that we've got our hands on. So passionate, like Steph said. Yes, I'm very passionate for get this in your body now and never stop. So tonight, I want to share with you some basics on how to do a home meeting or some things that are important in inviting to a Zoom meeting as well. And you guys, I am passionate about this. I have been doing home meetings pretty much every week for 9 years, and then Zoom, before it was Skype, now it is Zoom as well. And I'm just passionate about setting that up properly and helping people have the right expectations. So one thing that I love about Zoom meetings or home meetings, it's the easiest invite out there, right? We talked last week about how to invite people. So we're just inviting people to take a look at the information. So if you're brand new and you have not had a home meeting to launch your business, I really encourage you to, or to relaunch it, or the same thing for a Zoom meeting. But to me, it is such an easy invite to say, what are you doing Tuesday night at 7? Clear your schedule, 1 hour of your life, come check this out, that kind of thing. So first, I really believe going through the numbers is critical. I always tell people, invite 50 people. And you guys, I know that might sound scary or perhaps daunting, right? But trust me, you have to be willing to invite 10, because what we really find is most people, they maybe invite 10 and they maybe get 1. So they go to all this work and they invite 1 person, and it's hard, and we want to be effective with our time. So if you invite 50, you're going to get a much higher number. And then the other thing is, we know that there's never a perfect night that everybody can make it or anything like that. But for all those people that can't come, I love saying, okay, I have this night or this night. Which night works for you? Or when can we get together? Or when can you take a look at this information? And getting the information in front of them. So the invite is to invite them to a meeting, but then still sharing this information, even if they're not available for that meeting. Then again, setting the proper expectations on numbers. So I like to I find direct questions, get direct answers, and I like to just really know where people stand. So if people say, oh, I'll try to make it, pretty much that's a for sure no. So many times people will say, well, who's coming? Or I'll ask them who's coming, and they'll be like, oh, well, this one might be trying to. You guys just have it in your head. That's a for sure no. If they come, that's icing on the cake. Then of the people that say yes, statistics show roughly 50% of the people that say yes, they don't come simply because they forget. So the good news is there's something you can do about that, right? So remind people the night before or the day of. And it's just like maybe a quick text, something like that, like, hey, I can't wait to see you tonight at 7 o'clock. I am so excited for you to see this information, or something like that. But send a quick reminder just so it's top of their mind. It might even be a couple hours before, and that will absolutely get you a better turnout as well. And then they know you're serious. They should feel really committed to coming, basically. And also know that the point of a meeting, like we want to share this information, right? We're sharing this, whether it's in the products, the business, all of that. And your goal is duplication. Your goal is not to necessarily wow them with a perfect presentation or anything like that. So don't feel like that. But your goal is to share the information, to educate, to see what needs could they have and how could this fill them, to connect with them. Also, in terms of firming people up, one thing that I love to do, if you have someone you are really excited about, connect that person with the presenter even ahead of time. So that could look something like, maybe I'm new and I just talked to my best friend about this and she's coming. And so maybe someone else is doing that meeting for me. And I might be telling that person, hey, my best friend is coming, and telling them all about them. And then I might even literally introduce by phone, just a quick thing, and just say, hey, I just wanted to introduce you to my friend. She's going to be at my meeting tomorrow night. I told her all about you, and I just wanted you guys to connect real quick. Or that could be by text as well. Again, that's further solidifying their commitment to come. Then they're not taking it so lightly that they can just, forget and it's no big deal. And let the presenter know ahead of time, whether you've done that piece or not, who is coming, just so they can maybe tailor it, just slightly tweak it to them. Like, for example, if someone says they've got like a real estate person, I might throw an example or two in there in relation to network marketing versus real estate, or things like that. So, overall the presentation is a presentation, but if you can tailor it just a tiny bit, that's phenomenal. Also, make sure if you're the host, whether it's a Zoom or a home meeting, practice your story. That is critical. Why are you excited about LifeVantage? Why are you excited, whether it's the products, that also tie the business into that? Why are you excited for this future? What's making you do this? And really, really practice it. I encourage you to record it, or practice it, with someone on your team, and run through it and time it, because so many times the story gets really long, like that shaggy dog long story. And like Carrie Dickey always says, if it's not important to say, it's important not to say, right? So you've got to tailor it down, what's important to them. Always making a point with your story, hoping to connect with someone. So practice that ahead of time, because I will say, setting it up properly makes a difference. It's great energy to go into then as the presenter. And then also practice, or just know how you're going to introduce the person. Just a few key things. It doesn't need to be some long drawn out thing, but a few key things on why everybody should be listening to this person. And also think about, you're sharing this system as well, and you're sharing that this is part of a team. If they're joining this business, they're not in this alone. Here's the help that you get. So all of that goes into it. So, in your introductions, you can say things like that, like, I'm thrilled to have these business partners here helping me launch my business, or, whatever that might be. But definitely bring that in. I like to have some background music playing, just so it's not like dead silent if you're at a home meeting. A tiny bit of healthy snacks, that's it. Or it could be like chips and salsa, or a veggie tray, or chips and hummus, or just something simple. Do not feel like you need to do some huge thing. Again, duplication is critical. You don't want someone thinking, oh, I've got to put this huge spread on to have a home meeting, versus you want them to realize, hey, I can run home from work, I can throw something out on the table, and make samples of Axio and things like that, and boom, get ready and go. And do have samples. Absolutely have Axio made up so people can try that. possibly the prebiotic and the protein shake as well, and have True Science available, so people can feel that afterwards, have little cups or something so they can, again, taste that Axio. On the seating, you guys, these are little things, but it helps. Don't have rows and rows of seating. Have a good feel for how many people are really coming, and always, and open it up. I encourage you to open it up, to other groups, and put it on a big blue calendar and post it, because that's great energy. But don't have too many seats. Have some chairs on the side that you can throw in at the end. If you're full, that's awesome, right? Full is great. But you don't want to have just tons of empty seats. Like, that doesn't look really appealing, right? And then also have computers or iPads or that kind of thing. It's very, very accessible and ready to help get people's information in the computer immediately afterwards. Make sure that you have samples of Axio to send people home with too. And if you're going to somebody's meeting, or every single time you meet with someone, I believe that you should be having samples of Axio. I feel like most people aren't sampling Axio enough, and it's a very, very powerful tool. So always have that. I love to have, Stephanie, there's a little bit of background noise. Can you see if we could mute that as well? Thank you. I love to have the opportunity packs, that form printed out that's at the bottom of your website or lifevantage.com, just so someone can literally be looking at the silver, the gold, the platinum pack, and what comes in what. I love to have the price list order form, just so that way if you've got a big crowd, which is great, right? That way you can give them a handout as you're getting around to the different people, so they can be looking at which pack or what products and just have something in their hand to look at. I like to have the income disclosure printed out, or I'll just leave that up on the TV at the end of the PowerPoint as well, just so it's there and people can look at that as well. While the meeting's going on, whether you're the presenter or they're your guests, be scanning the crowd. Who is excited? Who's on the edge of their seat? Who is really into it? And then make your way around the room immediately afterwards. I always say it's kind of like triage, right? Where do I need to spend my time the most? And again, so if you know ahead of time who could be really interested, that way you can kind of make a beeline to them, just to have a conversation, not to be attacking them. I don't mean it that way whatsoever, but just having a conversation, seeing their interest level, asking them what grabbed your attention, what did you like best about it, that kind of thing, and really, really listening. Another thing that I will absolutely do as well, again, the meeting after the meeting is critical. So you really, really want to use that time to connect with people. So I might be having a conversation, and, oftentimes they have a lot of questions, or maybe they want to go home and look at things. And so, someone might say, hey, I want to go home and research it or check into this. So just ask them, what would you like more information on? Whether it's the science, whether it's the compensation plan, whether how to do this. And then I will get their phone number right then and there, and I will put them in my phone, and I will shoot them over a text, with some links on whatever it is that they were looking for. And I will include the person that brought them. So just connecting with them right then and there. Again, I'll just say, hey, great, let me put you in my phone. I'll send you a couple of links. That way you've got my number as well. So if any questions, and we can go from there. So one thing that I found on the Zoom, I love Zooms. Technology is amazing, and it allows us, to be having a conversation almost like you're right there with them. And again, we're presenting the information. But the hardest thing I found with Zoom is not having that meeting after the meeting. And so it's like you present this information, the people hang up, and then you don't really know where they stand. So I like to immediately get back on a Zoom. Like if I've got prospects that just watched a Zoom, I might jump on a Zoom, and I tell them that ahead of time. Like after that, okay, wait, great, we'll jump right back on, and that way we can answer your questions and that kind of thing. And the same thing, you can then do that with the presenter or whatever. and have that next appointment, but you don't want them to just watch a webinar and then leave that information hanging out there. You want to know where people stand. Do they see themselves, taking these products? Are they interested in the business? What's their level of interest? What's that next step? And where do they need to go from there, versus they watched a webinar and you have no idea what they're thinking at that point in time. So really, really keep that in mind. And to me, reaching out immediately after, again, is the easiest. And so I might even, sometimes I'll be doing a Zoom webinar and I'll have people say, hey, Carrie, if my guest is excited, will you talk to them afterwards? Absolutely, right? That's ideally what you want. So then we might hang up, boom, jump on a Zoom, and just really get to know them as if I'm sitting down and having a one-on-one conversation and seeing what interests them from there. So that's how I found to really be effective and having that next step so that piece isn't missing after Zoom. One other thing, just meeting etiquette, wanted to just touch on. Just really being aware of your surroundings. So, if you've got multiple distributors plus guests, just really being aware, we want to take care of the guests first. We want to talk to them. We want to answer their questions, things like that. If you're possibly struggling with something in your business, or you're having some problem or some concern that you're looking for help for, and so you want to talk to another distributor while you're there, I totally understand that. But just be super aware. The last thing you want a guest to hear is, oh, I invited 30 people and nobody showed up, right? If you're a guest, why would you want to look at a business with that? So just, again, keeping it super, super positive, and things like that. And then that conversation can happen, and also just respecting the time first for the guests and all that. And then typically, the presenter or whoever is absolutely willing to stay afterwards and have those conversations, but just really being aware of that. So, but I would really, really, again, I would just encourage you guys, if you haven't had a home meeting, or you can always have a new one to relaunch, right? And it's meeting after meeting after meeting. Like Stephanie said, I was at our first one, and I think she did 3 back to back to back. I mean, packed, absolutely packed. So, and then you continue to have that, and then you move into other people's living rooms, right, as your team grows. And the same thing again with Zooms. Have those, relaunch those. They're also phenomenal for building community, keeping people plugged in, keeping the energy. When you're down, you need the meeting. When you're up, the meeting needs you. So either way, I love plugging into home meetings. And the last thing I want to touch on, I know I've gone just a smidge late. One last thing, though, Long Beach, you guys. So Long Beach, October 4th and 5th, Elite Academy. This is going to be absolutely huge. We are launching Super 7, our new Pro Tandem product. This is going to be a biggie. I mean, they are potentially saying it could even be bigger than Nerf 2 activation, which, hello, I say every day, the most extraordinary therapeutic and preventative breakthrough in the history of medicine, the only natural product proven to extend life. And this could be potentially on par with that or bigger. So that is huge. They're going to be launching it first thing on the session Friday. But so what I really want to leave you with tonight is I want you to have a burning desire to get more people to Long Beach with you. Burning, you guys. So whether they're distributors that are on the fence, call them, have those conversations. Do they want to go? What's holding them back? Get creative. What can you do to make that happen? Also, even prospects. I have absolutely brought prospects to Elite Academy. I remember one year, it was in California, and I had super cheap plane tickets long ago. And then I got a couple guests, and literally we canceled the plane trip so that way we could drive the guests to the meeting. So who could maybe be on your dream team that if they really saw this vision, that they could run with you? So be bold, you guys. Don't be afraid to ask. Be bold, and really, really be passionate about getting people to Long Beach, because after that we have Cancun in February, and then there's regionals sometime next summer, and then convention is the next October. So the chance of someone going to Cancun that doesn't go to Long Beach is pretty small. And so basically, if they're not in Long Beach, you're literally looking at 1 full year later, 1 year. So we do not want to do that to people. So, I've got a number of brand new people that I've been talking to, and I just said, look, I owe it to you to tell you, here is absolutely why you need to do this if you're really serious about building this business, right? And I looked this one beautiful girl straight in the eye and I said, realistically, chances are you won't still be here a year from now if you don't. These events are that big and that huge. So I would just encourage you, move heaven and earth, do what you can, get to Long Beach, get more people on your team, whatever it takes. And that's it. So thank you guys for tuning in tonight. Thank you, Stephanie Kroon. I love doing this with you, Life Vantage and Life. And have a phenomenal night, you guys. And we will see you in just a couple weeks in Long Beach. Thanks. Have a good one.
Have a good night.